I just wonder whether you think Humza Yousaf's made the right call in not suspending Nicola Sturgeon.
Well, it's probably not for me to comment on the internal constitutional arrangements of the SNP, but there is a bit of a thing now in politics where when someone is facing a serious accusation of any kind, they are, particularly parliamentarians, they are suspended by the party in some way in order for that investigation to be looked into. And although Nicola is a former First Minister, she's still a sitting member of the Scottish Parliament. She's still got a right to attend and take part in debates and votes in the Parliament. So I'm not sure that either that decision or the decision to speak after coming out of the police station last night really particularly wise. I think sometimes silence is a useful virtue.
Yeah, so if I was to ask you if something similar had happened while you were leader of the Labour Party and former First Minister of Scotland, would you, for sort of, moving on's sake, or, quietening down some of the rhetoric, some of the discussions around this, would you suspend that MSP or not?
Well, I was accused of many things when I was in leading positions in the Scottish Labour Party, but I wasn't often accused of not acting when there was issues. Sometimes overreacting, maybe, was the accusation. I've always taken the view that you have to be seen to act in these circumstances. I faced a number of challenges of this sort. One of my MSPs was sent to jail. We had ministers, doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. Things they shouldn't have been. They were sacked. They were sacked from the cabinet or ministerial positions, despite the fact that they were pretty good ministers, because we had to have standards.
Yeah.
And one of the British politics, not just Scottish politics, but British politics over the last period has been a lack of standards being set from the top and then being met, and that has gone through both governments. Yeah. Edinburgh and London.
So in your case, when that MSP was obviously eventually sent to jail, but when they were called in, arrested and called in for questioning, did you then suspend them at that point? I mean, obviously, Nicola Sturgeon's been released without charge. We should make that very clear. But in that case, did you decide to kind of pincer move that immediately and suspend that particular MSP as soon as there were any concerns at all?
Well, to be honest, I can't recall the exact decisions of the time. I think so, but it was different circumstances. It was a very different kind of case, and it was very immediately clear that it was a serious situation. So I wouldn't want to draw any comparison between the two.
I mean,
but the point I was trying to make was that I think when you're in a leadership position, and I've said this before over a number of years now, in both of these governments that we have here in Edinburgh and London, you have to set standards, and then you have to then stick by them, however uncomfortable it is for you personally. I had circumstances, not dissimilar, not as serious, but not dissimilar to some of the stuff that Alex Salmond was up to. I know that he was found not guilty in a court of full-scale sexual assault, but things that he admitted in court he was up to. There were things like that were suggested to me when I was First Minister, and the Minister was in my office within an hour having a conversation. Made it absolutely clear that if I heard a rumour like that again, he'd be back in. And I think that it's that setting of standards that's gone missing in Scottish and British politics. And there's a commonality to these two stories. Very different parties, very different individuals, but a willingness to ride roughshod over acceptable behaviour in government is just not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are speaking out because there are various MPs and MSPs who were stripped of the SNP whip during Sturgeon's time in charge. Now, there doesn't appear to be sort of a complete pattern in terms of the people who she was stripping of the whip, but certainly she was not afraid under similar circumstances in terms of someone being under investigation or someone who was being questioned or had been questioned by authorities. She was not afraid to suspend that particular MSP. It just, reading through the different instances, it doesn't feel like there's been much of a precedent set in pattern. And Humza Yousaf decided to not lay down the gauntlet. Does that tell us that he's afraid of what that might mean, or does it tell us that he's actually more of a fan of not whipping it up any further?
Well, it could be the latter. It could be that he thinks, all this suspending of senior party figures whenever they're accused of something goes too far. If that's his approach, he needs to say that that's his approach. I think he might find it hard to maintain that over a longer period of time as party leader and First Minister. But I think he's slightly in danger of looking like maybe having one rule for somebody that he's very friendly with and a different rule for other people. I think, again, as a leader, you've got to be very clear on this. I'll in almost all cases, just temporarily. But along the way, I think I lost a few friendships, for taking such a position. But I do believe that if you're in a leadership position, you have to be consistent. You have to set out standards, and then you have to implement them rigorously. It's the only way to operate and get anything else done.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the shambles that we have in this country at the moment. Again, I would say both in Edinburgh and London, nothing happening on the basic issues that are affecting people's everyday lives.
Yeah, he needs to be consistent, doesn't he?
I on earlier saying that Boris was a great prime minister.
Yeah,
because he had backed Ukraine. Well, he's not backing Ukraine at the moment, and he's diverting the attention of the government away from supporting Ukraine to dealing with him.
Yeah.
I mean, people, the quality of performance and behaviour in politics at the moment is absolutely disgusting for the average individual in the street.